Women lose respect for the man who kneels. They test the man who refuses. Schopenhauer wrote that almost 2 centuries ago, but it hits harder now than ever. You feel it in your gut because you've lived it. You bent over backwards. You played the nice guy, and still, she drifted. You thought giving more would earn more. It only taught her you were safe to disrespect. Picture this. You're 25, lying awake, phone glowing at 2 a.m., thumb hovering over her story. You've texted twice, no reply. You tell yourself she's busy, but deep down you know she's scrolling too. Just not on you. It's a quiet humiliation you never admit. The worst part, you trained her to treat you like background noise. Why? Because respect doesn't grow where neediness lives. Respect grows in the soil of self-command, scarcity, and boundaries. Every time you rush to say yes, you dilute your value. Every time you wait, breathe, and choose, you make your presence heavier. Ask yourself, if your time costs nothing, why should she fight for it? If your yes is automatic, why should it matter? He didn't ignore her. He protected his focus. He didn't pull away. He stood his ground. Those shifts are subtle, but they're everything. She isn't wired to worship compliance. She's wired to test strength. This is not cruelty. This is selection. She isn't searching for your surrender. She's searching for your center. Think of the guy who said no. He didn't cancel his plans. He honored his mission. She rolled her eyes at first, then leaned closer. Why? Because a man with a mission creates gravity. If he sells himself cheap, you raise your price. If he gives everything, you give nothing. That's the first rule of reclaiming respect. You're here because you're tired of being invisible. You're tired of the dopamine crumbs of attention. This video is the slap you've secretly been waiting for. No fake confidence, no manipulative tactics, just the brutal truth. Your ability to deny, to stand still, to say no without trembling is the only signal she can't fake and can't ignore. Ask yourself another question. What would happen if tonight, instead of scrolling, you closed the app, hit the gym, and ignored her story? What happens when you stop acting like her entertainment and start acting like your own man? That's when the shift begins. If he reaches for you with a test, you hold, you breathe, you don't explain, you let the silence work. She feels the difference immediately. She senses you're not performing, you're living. You're no longer the man begging for her gaze. You're the man she can't stop glancing at. Because in the end, the man who kneels loses respect. But the man who stands, who refuses politely, who owns himself, he's the one she remembers. And that's exactly what you're about to learn. Women respect the man who can deny them. Not deny love, but deny instant access, deny blind compliance, deny the cheap giveaway of his attention. Why? Because denial signals self-command. Scarcity of self isn't manipulation. It's evidence you have a life. If your time is expensive, your presence becomes priceless. Ask yourself, if she can get your attention anytime, what's it really worth? If every yes comes automatically, what does your yes even mean? A man who never withholds teaches her his time is disposable. A man who pauses before granting access teaches her his time is gold. Picture this, you're at a friend's rooftop party. Music low, lights warm. She leans in and asks you to leave early and grab food. Old you would jump. New you smiles, says you're staying for the meeting you planned tomorrow. She looks stunned, then intrigued. In less than a minute she sees your backbone. He didn't ignore her, he respected himself. He didn't reject her, he prioritized his mission. The energy flips, because standards are magnetic. She stops testing for weakness and starts searching for alignment. This is not a trick. It's the natural response to a man who lives by principle. If she tests your boundary, you hold it. You breathe. You don't apologize for existing. You let the tension stand. When you do that, you're not chasing validation. You're becoming validation. You're no longer a man waiting for approval. You're the man whose approval she values. He didn't play hard to get. He actually was hard to reach because his life was full. He didn't manipulate. He maintained his standards. Every time you act from self-possession instead of hunger, the power dynamic flips quietly in your favor. So here's the rule. If she demands your instant yes, you give her your thoughtful no. You're showing her, without words, that your time is earned, not owed. And once you internalize that, you'll stop asking, how do I make her want me? And start asking, does she deserve my time? That's the real shift. Every man thinks saying yes will buy him points, but every yes you hand out without thought chips away at your value. Constant compliance isn't kindness, it's camouflage. You blend into the background like furniture. She stops seeing you as a man and starts seeing you as a resource. And once she files you under resource, she can't unsee it. If you never say no, why should she believe your yes? If every request is granted, how can she feel any weight behind your presence? You teach her your time is cheap, your boundaries negotiable, your spine bendable, and the silent test begins. Will he fold? She never says it aloud, but she's always watching. Picture this micro story. At a cafe, she tilts her head and says, "Tiny favor." You cancel your gym session to drive her across town. She thanks you once, then texts less. Next week she's laughing with someone else who didn't cancel. In 60 seconds you taught her your mission was optional, your word negotiable, your body disposable. He didn't decline because he's cruel. He declined because he's disciplined. He didn't blow her off. He protected his plan. These small reframes are the dividing line between a man she tests and a man she trusts. Women may smile at free favors, but they respect earned access. Ask yourself, when she pushes, do you hold or do you fold? When your gut says no, do your lips still say yes? Each time you fold, you're not just losing one interaction, you're rehearsing self-betrayal. Each time you hold, you're rehearsing leadership. That rehearsal becomes identity. If she tests your boundary, you hold it, then watch her interest spike or vanish. If she vanishes, you've filtered fast. If she spikes, she's seen the first glimpse of your spine. Either way, you win, because you're no longer bargaining for respect after surrendering it. You're establishing respect before it can be lost. He didn't withdraw to punish her. He stayed his course to honor himself. He didn't play games. He lived by rules. This isn't manipulation, it's sovereignty. You're showing her without speeches that your mission stands above any momentary pull. So here's the standard. If she asks you to break your commitment, you keep it. You stay at the gym. You finish the meeting. You let her feel the weight of your no. You're not just denying her request. You're confirming your worth. And that's the hidden price of saying yes. Every free yes you give away costs you respect. You can't buy back. Arthur Schopenhauer once said that life itself is suffering, and desire is the chain that binds us to that suffering. Now translate that into relationships. The more you throw yourself at someone, the more you guarantee your own misery. Because the second you give her everything, she stops valuing anything. Abundance without restraint always collapses into contempt. Look at how this plays out. A man spends thousands on gifts, endless hours on calls, bending every plan to please her. He thinks, if I give more, she'll stay. But she doesn't. She leaves for the man who barely texts twice a week. Brutal, right? But here's the truth. Her respect wasn't stolen, it was smothered under his desperation. Does giving her the world make her world revolve around you? Or does it teach her that you have no world of your own? You believe generosity is loyalty, but to her, unearned generosity feels like weakness. Respect doesn't rise when you pour endlessly. It rises when you pour selectively. He didn't abandon her. He preserved himself. He didn't ghost. He guarded his energy. That difference is massive. Women don't respect the man who erases himself in her service. They respect the man whose life is already full, who invites her in but doesn't collapse when she steps out. Schopenhauer's law is brutal. The more you cling, the faster it slips. Desire, ungoverned, becomes suffering. Love, unguarded, becomes contempt. That's why the man who denies calmly, without spite, earns respect. Because his no proves he isn't enslaved by her approval. Picture the rooftop scene again. She hints at a luxury trip. He buys the tickets, plans the hotels, rearranges his calendar. She smiles politely, then drifts to the man leaning against the bar, barely glancing at his phone. The contrast is painful. One over-invested, the other barely signaled. Guess which one her respect gravitates toward. So here's the rule. If he over-invests, you under-signal. If he floods her with constant attention, you ration yours with precision. This isn't cruelty, it's calibration. You're not withholding to manipulate. You're withholding to maintain value. You're protecting the balance that makes respect possible. Ask yourself another question. How many times have you thought effort equals attraction, only to be punished for that effort? How many times have you been told just be nice, just show her you care, and then watched her walk into the arms of someone who did less but carried more weight? He didn't stop caring. He started caring differently. He didn't pull away because he hated her. He pulled away because he loved himself. That's the paradox Schopenhauer forces you to see by denying constantly. You create abundance. By giving recklessly, you create emptiness. The men who last aren't the ones who give endlessly. They're the ones who know when to give, when to withhold, and when to walk away. That's the brutal law of respect. And the sooner you live it, the sooner you stop chasing validation and start becoming the gravity she orbits. Strategic denial is not punishment. It's not about playing games or starving someone of attention to feel powerful. It's about principled restraint, choosing where your energy goes and proving by action that your life has a hierarchy. When you stop scattering your yes everywhere, your yes becomes a magnet. Ask yourself, what happens when you make your eyes rare? What happens when a man's time isn't automatic, but earned? People start leaning in. They start competing. They start respecting boundaries they once ignored. Scarcity creates gravity because it signals you're not for sale. You're at a party. Music is low, the crowd is buzzing. She leans in, eyes bright, fishing for validation. You smile, then pivot to your friends, keeping your focus on your purpose. She follows, confused at first, intrigued next. You didn't punish her, you simply refused to orbit her. In 60 seconds, she sensed the difference. He didn't reject her. He redirected himself. He didn't act cold. He acted centered. Those subtle reframes flip the script without a single harsh word. Women feel the pull of a man who's grounded, not grasping. Strategic denial becomes the invisible frame that holds your dignity in place. Selective availability isn't about manipulation. It's about reality. Your time is finite. Your focus limited. The man who guards both becomes valuable by default. The man who leaks both becomes invisible. Which one do you want to be? If she leans in seeking validation, you pivot to purpose, not her. If she pushes for more than you're ready to give, you slow down instead of speeding up. You're teaching her wordlessly that your life moves on your clock. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. Think about it. The rock in the river doesn't chase the current. It stays still, and the current moves around it. The man who masters denial isn't hard for the sake of hardness. He's solid for the sake of self-respect. Scarcity framed as strength, not game. He didn't withhold affection, he protected self-direction. He didn't freeze her out. He stayed on mission. This is how scarcity turns into signal. Every time you hold back reflexive eyes, you're telling her, I'm not here to fill your void. I'm here to build my world. Ask another question. Do you want her attention because she chose it or because you chased it? Do you want her to admire your gravity or your availability? You can't have both. Strategic denial forces her to reveal her real interest and forces you to develop self-control. So here's the rule. If the old you would scramble to impress, the new you pauses, pivots, and invests that energy into purpose. If she leans, you hold. If she waits, you let her. That stillness amplifies your value more than 1,000 compliments. Because in the end, strategic denial is not the art of saying no. It's the art of making your eyes so deliberate, so considered, that it carries the weight of a signature, and the man whose signature means something never has to beg for respect. He simply commands it. Boundaries aren't walls, they're standards. Standards announce who you are without saying a word. A man without them is like an unlocked phone. Anyone can swipe, poke, delete. A man with them instantly read as rare, valuable, untouchable, unless earned. If you don't guard your time, who will? If you don't respect your own space, why would anyone else? People read your boundaries the way investors read balance sheets. They see your discipline, your scarcity, and your priorities. That's identity strength in action, not talk. She texts at 2 a.m. Come over. You've got a 6 a.m. lift. You decline, calm, direct. She's shocked, then curious. He didn't insult her. He honored himself. He didn't reject her. He protected his trajectory. That's the difference between low status and high status. Most guys think saying no is rejection. In reality, it's intriguing. Scarcity creates tension. Tension creates focus. A man who's available 24/7 is a service. A man who's selective is an experience. Which one gets chased? If she tests off-hours access, you calmly refuse. Status rises. If he drops everything for her, you double down on your schedule. If she pushes, you hold. This isn't cruelty. This is teaching her how to meet you at your standard. He didn't play hard to get. He stayed hard to sway. He didn't ghost her. He guarded his rest. These reframes shift no from a slap to a signal. She starts to ask, what kind of man prioritizes his mission over me? That's intrigue, not insult. Ask yourself, do you want to be respected for your convenience or desired for your commitment to self? Do you want her to feel like she's interrupting or like she's entering a higher realm? Boundaries make her step into your frame, not pull you into hers. Women read time boundaries as identity strength. They read your calendar as a character. When you keep it sacred, you're showing her you're not another accessory in her life. You're the man building a life she wants access to. If he answers at every ping, you wait. If he bends, you stand. If he says yes, reflexively, you say later deliberately. This deliberate pacing becomes a status marker. You're no longer signaling eagerness. You're signaling sovereignty. Picture a velvet rope outside a club. Not everyone walks in. The line itself creates desire. Your time, your attention, your presence. Same principle. By saying no, you're not closing doors, you're making entry meaningful. She texts again the next morning. How was your lift? Her tone has changed. You didn't become rude overnight. You became a man whose time cost something. She adjusts. She either rises to meet you or drifts away to someone cheaper. Either way, you win. Boundaries aren't a game of withholding. They're a declaration of worth. Every time you reinforce them, you build an aura she can feel before she touches. Every time you crumble, you teach her you're just another option. In the end, boundaries as status isn't about punishing or impressing. It's about shaping the perception of your value. When your no is calm, consistent, and grounded, your yes becomes gold, and the man whose yes is gold never has to beg to be treated like a king. He simply acts like one. Masculine stillness is power. Reactive neediness is noise. One builds gravity, the other leaks status. Most men sabotage themselves not with bad looks or poor money, but with frantic availability. They think instant replies equal loyalty. In reality, instant replies scream scarcity. Who's in control? The man who reacts or the man who waits? Every time you rush to your phone, you're telling her she outranks your mission. Every time you pause, you're telling her your mission outranks the moment. She may not articulate it, but she feels it in her nervous system. Your phone buzzes during deep work. You let it ring. 2 hours later, her tone is warmer, not colder. She didn't lose interest. She recalibrated. He didn't play a game. He stayed in frame. He didn't ghost her. He guarded his focus. Stillness triggers her deeper respect circuits. When you're unbothered, your value spikes. When you're calm under pressure, you look like a man who's been here before. The opposite is a boy gasping for approval. A man doesn't gasp, he breathes slowly and moves on his own timing. If chaos knocks, you stay still. Frame wins. If he panics, you pause. If she pushes, you anchor. Your stillness is not passivity, it's dominance over your own state. That's the real flex. Men confuse being available with being chosen. Being available non-stop is like putting a luxury watch in a bargain bin. Scarcity is not about manipulation, it's about matching your time to your worth. You're not punishing her, you're prioritizing you. He didn't ignore her. He honored his craft. He didn't disappear. He disciplined his attention. These reframes flip the script from neglect to leadership. A man who controls his attention controls the frame. Ask yourself, do you want to be a notification pet or a gravitational center? Do you want to be summoned or selected? A man's silence can be louder than his words when it's backed by purpose. Build self-respect rituals so stillness isn't forced. It's natural. Lift heavy. Learn a skill. Grow your business. Stack habits that anchor your identity. When your life is rich, her text is not a lifeline. It's a small vibration in a larger symphony. If he's checking his phone every minute, you double down on your workout. If he's addicted to constant chatter, you invest in deep focus. If he jumps at every buzz, you move at your rhythm. This is how masculine stillness becomes second nature. Picture a mountain. Weather storms around it, birds land, winds blow, rain falls. The mountain does not flinch. That's your frame. You're the mountain, not the bird. The stronger your stillness, the more she orbits to see what's inside. She texts again later, softer tone, more deliberate. She's feeling your gravity, not because you're withholding, but because you're centered. She's learning you're a man who values himself first. The world respects men who value themselves first. Masculine stillness versus reactive neediness isn't theory. It's a daily choice. Every time you pause, you regain power. Every time you rush, you bleed it. Be the man who waits, who acts from intent, who stands still until the move is yours. In a noisy world, stillness is status. Selectivity is the quiet language of value. A man who gives himself to everyone is claiming he's worth nothing. A man who chooses carefully radiates gravity. People chase what's rare. They discard what's everywhere. If everyone can have you, why should she fight for you? If your time is a public park, don't be shocked when strangers walk through it. But if your time is a velvet rope, people line up. Selectivity isn't arrogance. It's proof of abundance. At a rooftop bar, you talk to 3 women, but invest in none. The one you ignored circles back twice. She isn't offended, she's intrigued. He didn't snub her, he signaled standard. He didn't freeze her out, he framed himself as a prize. Social proof of abundance works because humans read value through behavior, not declarations. When you deny some women, other women notice. When you're comfortable walking away, they lean in. You're not punishing anyone, you're demonstrating inner security. If everyone demands attention, you give it to few. Status compounds. If he's spraying his energy everywhere, you conserve yours. If he's begging for inclusion, you're curating your circle. If he's chasing any invitation, you're declining most with calm eyes. Ask yourself, do you want to be the man who's always available, or the man people compete to reach? Do you want to be chosen as filler, or pursued as a focus? Selectivity turns being picky into an aura. She reads your boundaries as identity strength. The more intentional your friendships, the sharper your status. The more curated your habits, the cleaner your energy. This is how elite men move. They screen before they invite. He didn't avoid the party. He refined his tribe. He didn't ghost his friends. He grew past mediocrity. These reframes teach your brain. Pruning is not rejection, it's leadership. Turn your phone and your calendar into filters, not open doors. Say yes slowly. Say no calmly. Watch your market value rise as your availability falls. The rare becomes radiant. The abundant background noise. Your selectivity also signals to yourself. Every no you give to low-value options is a yes to your mission. Every boundary you set clarifies your identity. Every standard you uphold makes you magnetic. Picture a jeweler handling diamonds. Gloves on, soft cloth, measured care. Now picture a street vendor tossing trinkets on a blanket. Same physics, different perception. Which one commands a higher price? You're the jeweler or you're the vendor. You decide. If she tests your access, you calmly refuse. If a crowd pushes for your time, you choose who enters. This is not a game, it's self-respect. This is how status compounds like interest in discipline. The world doesn't reward the man who's everywhere. It rewards the man who's somewhere specific, owning his lane, unbothered by noise. Selectivity equals value. When you curate access, you stop chasing validation and start becoming validation. People sense it, women feel it, and your entire life begins to orbit around a stronger, rarer core. Respect compounds like interest. One boundary kept today pays dividends tomorrow. Each time you say no when your old self would have folded, you're casting a vote for a new identity. Every small act of restraint builds a larger self-image. What identity are you rehearsing every time you say no? Are you practicing being the man who folds or the man who holds? Women sense the pattern long before you declare it. They read your micro actions like braille. First you skip one needy text, then you skip 3. Soon you're a man she plans around. This isn't about games, it's about gravity. He didn't disappear, he became focused. He didn't reject her, He respected himself enough to stay steady. If your old self would fold, your new self holds. Loop strengthens. That's the respect feedback loop. Each small denial feeds confidence. Confidence feeds composure. Composure feeds attraction. Attraction feeds options. Options feed higher standards. Round and round it goes. Momentum rising with every choice. Ask yourself, are your daily habits rehearsing weakness or rehearsing strength? Are you teaching her you're a man she can interrupt or a man she must schedule? Boundaries teach the world how to treat you. The respect feedback loop is invisible, but powerful. You're building a reputation brick by brick. You're becoming a man who can be trusted to guard his own time, energy, and focus. When she senses that, her behavior adjusts automatically. He didn't play hard to get. He learned to be hard to move. He didn't cold shoulder her. He built a warm life she had to qualify for. These reframes burn the old script and write a new one in real time. But small denials train your nervous system to tolerate tension. You stop needing instant relief. You start holding the line. When you hold the line, you project stability. When you project stability, respect arrives by reflex. If he chases validation, you chase purpose. If he folds under pressure, you hold through pressure. If he answers instantly, you respond deliberately. This is how micro decisions become macro identity. It's not about punishing women. It's about sculpting yourself. You're training discipline like a muscle. Each rep is a refusal to break your frame. Each rep makes you stronger, calmer, and more magnetic. Think of it as compounding dignity. One boundary leads to another. One win leads to momentum. One self-respecting choice rewires your brain to expect better treatment. You don't earn respect by begging. You attract it by embodying it first. When you start living like this, women don't just respect you more, they organize around you. Your time becomes the center, not the afterthought. Your attention becomes a reward, not a default. The feedback loop closes, and you step into the identity you were meant to carry. Tactics are temporary. Standards are permanent. A tactic is a mask you wear until it slips. A standard is a spine you grow until it stands on its own. Women feel the difference instantly. Why denial isn't manipulation but self-definition? Because you're not withholding to control her. You're withholding to control yourself. You're not playing chess. You're drawing the borders of your life. When you stop acting, who do you become? You stop checking her stories. She starts checking yours. You stop arranging your schedule around her texts. She starts arranging hers around your mission. He didn't retreat, he recalibrated. He didn't ignore, he invested in himself first. If you feel like acting, pause. If it's your standard, proceed. That's the core rule. If he's faking dominance, you build discipline. If he's running a script, you're living code. The difference is night and day, and she feels it before you say a word. Ask yourself, do you want to spend your life juggling tactics? Or do you want to become a man whose boundaries are automatic? Do you want to play endless games? Or live a reality where games collapse against your frame? Standards make no automatic by design. Your calendar, your sleep, your training, your mission, they all function as guardrails. You don't decide whether to reply instantly. You're busy. You don't decide whether to chase validation. You're already full. He didn't freeze her out. He focused on his craft. He didn't strategize detachment. He built a life too rich to abandon. These reframes break the need for performance. They make your presence heavier and your words lighter. Every time you act from a tactic, you leak self-respect. Every time you act from a standard, You bank self-respect. Over time, those deposits become identity. Women respect identity more than they respect performance. Your goal isn't to become a colder actor. Your goal is to become a warmer center. A man rooted, grounded, selective. That's why denial stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like clarity. If he scrambles to appear high value, you quietly become high value. If he needs to fake abundance, you build real abundance. If he's addicted to moves, you're addicted to mastery. This is how you shift from tactics to standards. You're no longer thinking about should I deny. You're simply living in a way that makes your yes rare and your no inevitable. She senses that. Respect flows toward it. Games dissolve around it. And when you stop acting, you don't become less magnetic. You become more. Because the man who no longer needs to perform is the man she can finally feel. That's the quiet power of standards. Silent confidence isn't shyness. It's self-trust made visible. Silent men with purpose draw curiosity without lifting a finger. When you're rooted in your mission, you don't fill the air with noise. You let her wonder. If you're already chosen, why chase? If you're already valuable, why over-explain? Quiet self-trust is louder than any pickup line you could say. It's the gravity of a man who knows his own orbit. On the subway you're reading, she glances twice, then sits closer. You don't move. You don't angle your body. You stay in your frame. That stillness radiates more power than a rehearsed line ever could. He didn't ignore. He embodied. He didn't retreat. He rooted. These reframes change everything. Instead of proving worth, you become worth. Instead of chasing approval, you become the standard she approaches. If she approaches, you stay grounded. Silence speaks. That's the rule. If he panics when noticed, you hold your center. If he overtalks to fill the void, you let the void work for you. Silence isn't absence, it's a signal. Ask yourself, do you want to be the noise everyone scrolls past, or the calm they stop and study? Do you want to look impressive for 5 seconds or be remembered for your presence long after you've left? Fewer words plus firm standards create magnetic presence. You're not withholding speech, you're shaping the air. You're not acting cold, you're acting complete. This is the difference between tension and desperation. He didn't freeze up. He chose calm. He didn't play mysterious. He became intentional. Each small choice reinforces the identity of a man who isn't reaching. He's receiving. That's why women move closer without being invited. Silent confidence doesn't mean passive. It means potent. Every pause, every slow breath, every controlled movement tells a story she can feel. It's not about impressing, it's about embodying. If he flexes louder, you tighten your focus. If he brags to seem big, you shrink your words and grow your actions. This reversal makes you stand out in a room full of noise. And that's the silent confidence signal. You're not chasing, not explaining, not auditioning. You're simply living in a way that pulls. The fewer words you use, the clearer your energy becomes. She notices, she leans in. The mystery isn't a tactic. It's the truth of a man already chosen. He didn't cancel his plans. He honored his mission. That single choice flips the whole frame. Instead of living as a placeholder in her calendar, he becomes the man she must schedule around. He didn't ignore her. He prioritized himself. Silence wasn't neglect. It was respect for his own focus. You don't ghost, you grow. You don't withdraw, you root. Which identity are you rehearsing every time you answer late? He didn't punish her. He respected his boundary. He drew a line not to push her away, but to protect his core. Boundaries aren't walls. They're invitations to treat you correctly. If he lowers the bar, you raise your standard. He didn't withhold affection. He refused self-betrayal. Giving without integrity is self-erasure. Holding back isn't a tactic. It's a declaration. My love isn't for rent, it's for real. He didn't become scarce. He became sovereign. Scarcity is fear-driven. Sovereignty is choice-driven. She feels the difference instantly. One triggers games, the other triggers respect. Picture this. You're at a crowded party. Music loud, phones flashing. You stay anchored in your circle, speaking slowly, not chasing, not darting. She watches, she recalibrates, she moves closer without you even looking up. That's a new identity forming in real time. Ask yourself, are you installing tactics or standards? Are you moving like a man rehearsing scarcity, or like a man embodying sovereignty? Each small denial isn't a loss, it's a brick in your self-respect. If he folds under pressure, you hold on principle. If he chases validation, you chase your mission. That's the operating system shift. He didn't act mysterious. He became solid. He didn't play hard to get. He became hard to shake. These reframes aren't slogans. They're upgrades to the man you're becoming. Stop auditioning. Start embodying. Each choice is a signal. Each pause is a crown. Each reframe is a new standard in motion. The question isn't if she'll notice. The question is, will you finally notice yourself? He didn't reject her. He respected her boundary. He didn't submit blindly. He honored his own. Denial without malice isn't cruelty. It's clarity. Consent without compromise isn't weakness. It's power. Picture this. She leans in, wanting more than you're ready to give. You smile, steady voice, calm eyes. You hold the line. No fight, no shame, just truth. She pauses, then nods. If he pressures, you pause. If he manipulates, you walk. Respect dies under coercion, but grows under autonomy. What kind of man do you want to be? The one who corners or the one who commands respect? He didn't control her. He controlled himself. He didn't cage her. He freed himself. Boundaries aren't weapons. They're agreements. Without them, you both lose. With them, trust compounds. Ask yourself, are your standards serving both sides? Are your denials protecting her dignity as much as your own? That's the real high-status move. Power with honor.